So Salamangreat won the European Championship, and not only that, they absolutely dominated, and I mean dominated this event. What's going on, you guys? Slim here to tell you guys why Salamangreat won the European Championship. It was undisputed. The finals was going to be Salamangreat mirror match, but yeah, it's absolutely insane. Those of you that are new to the channel have seen this segment before. Welcome. Basically, we go over the deck that won, and we talk about all the factors that led to it winning. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Be sure to hit that like button and everything. But yeah, so we're gonna get into it. So yeah, Gabriel Suzy. I hope I didn't butcher your name. Congratulations to you. He ended up winning the finals 2-0. Actually, he played against Samir, who actually was a previous national champion. He played the mirror match. Samir bricked. It was really bad. Like, his hand was just unfortunately just not playable, and Gabriel's hand was absolutely like insane. Like, you could just tell by the commentary. I was actually watching at work, and yeah, it was nuts. Like, the finals was crazy, and also the fact that that it ended up being a solid mirror match in the finals. There was Orcus in top 4, a Thunder Dragons in top 4, and they both got knocked out. Sucks. You guys know how much I love Thunder Dragons, but there was no denying that Salamangreat, especially in this region, and that's something we'll talk about as the video progresses. Salamangreat in Europe is just so highly represented and so highly played that it was definitely something that really didn't take me by surprise, especially when I saw the numbers from like day one. So yeah, one thing I'll say is that the sheer representation was definitely one of the main factors. I think that this deck was destined to win. Like, it's kind of crazy, but you look at the numbers, they're insane. But yeah, we'll get into it. So we'll get into his main deck, side deck, extra deck, then we'll talk about, like I said, why it won the event. So yeah, hand traps. He played 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 Phantasme, and 2 Ghost Ogre. So this was interesting. Shout out to Lithium. He has a live deck profile. I'll have it link down below. Yeah, this was interesting because I think a lot of players, had been playing Valor, and Ogre was kind of a card that you kind of would see, but not that much. It was a card that not too many people were sure of. What I really liked about the deck profile, because I watched it a couple of times, is that he's pretty in depth, like with his hand trap choices. As you guys can see, he's also playing 3 impermanents, so he has a total. What is that? 6, 7, 8, 9. So he has 10 hand traps like in the main deck, and that's one. Not only is that 1/4 of your deck, but also if you look at his side deck, he's setting more hand traps. And the way Salamangreat plays is they only need to play off of mostly like 2 cards, so being able to have the rest of your card being hand traps to interrupt your opponent is crazy. And if you look at his choices, Ash is just standard. You guys already know there's always something that Ash is the most generic, being able to hit pretty much whatever. His choices to play 2 Phantasme and 2 Ogre were interesting though, because Phantasme. So if you guys have seen, the debate on Phantasme has actually been like crazy. Even at our EUWCQ, it was hard to say like how good or how bad the card was. You saw some decks completely omitted it. They didn't even play it in the main or the side, while some other decks did play it. I think it was mostly made for the mirror match and for Sky Strikers. So especially if you're going into Europe and you're going to play mostly Salad, because everyone is playing Salad at that event, Phantasme was a really good call. He didn't clump on it by playing the 3rd copy, and he kept his deck at a clean 40, so I really liked it. So 2 makes sense. And like I was saying, Ogre does have a lot of applications, being able to hit multi-roll, of course, against Striker, being able to hit the normal summon on Salamangreat, being able to hit Saryuja, LP, any of the stuff like in the Thunder Dragon deck. There's a lot of applications you can also use against Orcus, so it does have its charm. So yeah, the hand trap lineup seems pretty standard, I think, by most people's views. I think Ogre was just the one card that kind of stood out, and I think it's really cool that he played it, and I think Samir also played it as well. So definitely was something that Europe was on, over us, because we really didn't play Ogre at all, I think, in the NA event. But yeah, the 1 debug, self-explanatory. The 1-ofs, the 1 Falco, the 1 Foul, the 3 Foxy, the 3 Gazelle, the 2 copies of Jaguar, and the 2 copies of Spinny. If you guys go to the deck profile, he talks about why he played 2 and 2. He talked about how basically, having a 3rd copy of Spinny wasn't necessary, stuff like that. Like I said, you guys can watch a live deck profile down below for more explanations. I'm not a Salamangreat expert, so I'm just going off what I saw. So yeah, so that was his monster lineup. Onto his spells. So he played 3 Cosmic Cyclone, and this was really cool. I noticed not a lot of lists were doing this, and Twin Twister seemed to be like the card a lot of people were playing, but he did respect Cosmic Cyclone because he was talking about how it did have the ability to knock out like certain cards against Orcus. 1-for-1 trades are a lot better than Twin Twister, because you already know they're going to negate stuff, like they're going to use Crescendo, they're going to use whatever, and Cyclone gave you that ability to just do a 1-for-1 trade that gets it off the field and banishes it. And I think that's what's huge, is that banishing card is so much better than just sending them to the graveyard in case they could ever be recycled or used for something else. So Cyclone was really strong, and of course against Mystic Mind, because let's face face it, we all hate Mystic Mind. Like, that card is nuts. And being able to just do a 1-for-1 trade versus like a Twin Twister or something, and banishing it so that, like, you know, not that they would get it back, but in case they could, you know, Cyclone's just really strong. You know, it obviously it doesn't do anything against Danger Thunder, but it's an easy side out. It's just this way you are protected. And what I did like, again, in the live deck profile is he talked about how he felt protected, and he accounted for every matchup. And I think that's what we've talked about on the channel multiple times, is that you have to account for every matchup. You can't just focus on one. So Cyclone was an amazing call. Absolutely. I actually really like this deck list, by the way. So really cool. 2 copies of Silent Mining. That's self-explanatory. 1 Foolish, you know, it helps you combo. And he did play the 1 Fusion of Fire. So this was something that Salamangreat lists have kind of gone away from. They're not really playing this card as much, but this does give you the OTK potential, and he talks about that in his profile, that it does give you the ability, you know, to just reduce your opponent's life points to 0, and you guys know what happens. You win the game at that point. So, yeah. 2 copies of Desires. This is another card that I've been noticing a lot of Salamangreat lists are starting to play more. It just helps you dig. Like, it just helps you dig. You play a lot of 3-ofs. You can search out what you need first to avoid, you know, banishing all your copies, and you guys already know how Desires works. High risk, high reward. 3 copies of Circle, self-explanatory. The 1 Field Spell. He played 2 copies of Will. This card is just really strong. Being able, you know, it's like a mini soul charge, has the ability to, you know, just help you extend more. So it's just really solid. And then his traps, like I already mentioned, 3 impermanents, and then he plays just 1 copy of Rage, 1 copy of Roar. Basically, you know, you've seen some lists that are playing multiple copies of Rage. He just talked about, I don't want to open with multiple, which makes sense, because a lot of times, you know, if you don't establish a link or whatever, which you should be able to, but if you don't, you know, they can be dead cards in hand. So the 1-on-1 ratio is fine. Send him to the graveyard, add him to your hand, whatever. So works out really well. So yeah, that was his main deck. It was a clean 40. Side deck, 3 Lancia. Don't need to talk about that. That's a god card against Orcus. Also, applications against Thunder Dragons. He played 2 Drolls. This card's really good against Thunder. Danger Thunder, especially. You guys know it basically skips the turn. Like I was talking about earlier, he does side into more hand traps, having the 2 Droll and the 2 Veiler as well. Just gives you more, like, options hand trap wise. And like I said, Salamangreat only need, like, 2 cards to combo, unless they open debug or stuff like that. So, being able to just shut down your opponent and then play your deck is really strong. The 1 copy of Pero. This is obviously for time. If it happens, it happens. Gain 2,000. He respected Thunder enough to side 2 copies of Super Poly and the 1 Starving Venom. You guys already know. Just take the Colossus and the Hot Red, stuff like that. No, there's no counterplay to this, so it's really strong. Plus, you can also side this in the mirror match. You know, it's just like in other copies of Fusion of Fire, so very cool. And then just 3 Twin in 1 order. He talked about how this is mostly for Sky Strikers, as well as, you know, Ultra Guys and stuff like that. No, Ultra Guys. There were a lot of Ultra Guys. I think there were like 7 Ultra Guys made top cut. So definitely another thing to respect is having the Twisters, the Cyclones, you know, having the stuff against the back row decks. And of course, Order can be applied to other matchups, but you guys already know it's a blowout against Striker. Then his extra deck real quick. So you get the 1 Violet Chimera, the 1 Dweller, which is just like insanity. Like, yeah, just being able to go turn 1 Dweller, Blind Dweller is nuts. The 1 copy of Mirage Stalio, the 1 Hida, the 1 Phoenix, the 3 copies of Balinx, 2 Helio, 3 Sunlight Wolf, and then he did play the Transcode Talker and the Update Jammer. So this is basically like the OTK combo that people had played in the deck in the beginning, and then you didn't really see it that much. But yeah, he brought it back, and yeah, it's an OTK. So why would you not play it if you have the ability to? I mean, I've seen like a lot of lists going away from it, but it's really cool that he brought it back, and I'm not sure if that'll be a new trend, or not even really a new trend, but something that players will start playing again in the deck. But yeah, so that was the main side and extra. So now just main things to talk about why this deck won. First and foremost, the player. I have to give it up to him. He played amazingly. Like, if you watch the matches, and I watched a lot of the feature matches yesterday, and yeah, he just played so well. Like, he played so well. And like I said, I'm not the biggest Salamangreat person. Like, I don't know a lot about the deck, but just watching how he played, listening to the commentary, the commentary is great, by the way. You can learn a lot too from that. Just watching his matches, he just played so well. He opened so strong, and just how he got around like certain matchups and stuff like that, being able to play around Thunder, all that other stuff, because, a lot of people were saying, Thunder was like, basically had a free matchup against Salamangreat. It clearly was not the case, as he knocked out Thunder in top 4. That Thunder list was also really cool, by the way, because it wasn't like standard Danger Thunder, so I really liked it. But yeah, that was definitely one of the factors. I would also say the representation. The representation was huge. I believe there's over 20 plus Salamangreat in top 64. I can't remember if it was 20 or 24, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can can comment down below. Yeah, the sheer representation of this deck was insane. And if you guys have noticed, at a lot of events, Salamangreat have been the deck that have been making it to the finals and winning. The thing is, in like other regions, it's just so weird. For us in NA, we play Thunder Dragons, we play Orcus, and Sky Strikers, and our finals was Thunder Dragon versus Striker. And guess what? Where is Striker and where is Thunder Dragons here in Europe? They just really don't play the decks the way we do. So it's pretty crazy. But that was definitely one of the other factors. And I also think the way this deck was built, not only like I mentioned the pilot of the deck, but just the way this deck was built, you can see that he accounted for pretty much everything. And like I've always said, being able to account for all matchups is important. Hand trap ratios were on point. He had reasons for why he played everything. Like I said, you could watch the live deck profile just to learn more. And yeah, there was just so many just like simple little factors to why this deck did so well. And I think one thing that I've come to accept about Salamangreat, even though I never really played the deck, is that this deck is very consistent. It's very consistent and it's very, precise to what it wants to do. And it can do the same thing pretty much every turn. The ability to combo with 2 cards, 1 card if you open debug, the ability to have hand traps to back it up gives you, less of a glass ceiling. Like the one thing with Thunder, I will admit, is that, Thunder is like kind of a glass ceiling. You get to combo off, cool. If they somehow break your board, it's very hard to come back. There's not that many follow-up plays since you go through most of your extra deck doing the Guard Dragon combo. But the one thing I've noticed with Salamangreat is they have the ability to recycle their cards. They have the ability to keep playing, and they have a much better grind game than some of the other decks. So I'm definitely, becoming a fan of, Salad and realizing, just its potential, that it's had like all format, especially like I said in other regions. So I think all these factors are definitely led to why the deck did so well. But what I want to know is, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Why do you feel Salamangreat won the Euros? Do you feel like it was deserving? I definitely do. I mean, there was no denying it. Once we knew the finals was going to be a Salamangreat mirror match, I already knew. I was like, well, I already know what the video is going to be. It's going to be why Salamangreat won. And it was just pretty crazy. All the other decks got knocked out, and the deck is just very good at what it does. And I think that's one of the main things to take away from this, is that Salamangreat is really good at what it does. It was readily accessible to most people, and it's just been consistent the entire format. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.